Part 40. I Can Break the Dimensional Wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 392. Wait a minute, where are we going? Sinan saw that Xiaoruo's motorcycle was going in the wrong direction, and asked quickly. The roar of the motorcycle engine was so loud that Sinan wondered if Xiaoruo heard her own voice. Let's warm up before eating, Xiaoruo said, and the motorcycle accelerated again. Xiaoruo didn't take Sinan directly to Ginza. Kawasaki H2R is a professional racing car that is really faster than a helicopter at full speed. It takes about an hour to go around Tokyo. If you really go directly to Ginza, it takes about a few minutes. There it is, that would be too boring. It's better to drive Shino on the streets of Tokyo. When watching Swords, Xiaoruo liked the character of Sinan very much. She liked this cute, strong, kind girl who occasionally exudes some cool aura. Of course, it may be because of Sinan's appearance. The reason why I have been in contact with Sinan. In short, it is a dream come true to be able to drag racing with the goddess of animation that I once liked. Scumbag? It's too difficult to say, it's just a dream come true. Who can see the favorite two-dimensional goddess without some ideas? Speed up, hold me tight. Forward. Because of Xiaoruo's acceleration, Shino hugged her even tighter. There is actually a lot of traffic in Tokyo at night, but Xiaoruo's physical fitness and reaction nerves are too fast, and there is no pressure to drive a motorcycle in front of countless vehicles. Moving cars. Seeing the surrounding cars being thrown behind him like flying, Sinan, who was sitting in the back, was a little frightened. Sinan seemed to have heard the sound of the police siren, but the sound was quickly thrown away by Xiaoruo. If it was an ordinary girl, she might be frightened and cry at this time. It's just that Sinan looks quiet on the outside, but in the game, she is an extreme player who has experienced countless moments of life and death and likes to pursue excitement. At first, Sinan was a little worried about the traffic police, but after getting used to it, Sinan began to enjoy this feeling instead. It's so cool. Shino didn't expect that Xiaoruo, who looks very gentle and handsome on the surface, actually hides such a wild heart under that appearance, which unexpectedly made Sinan feel a sense of contrast, and also made Sinan I am even more curious about Xiaoruo. Sinan's eyes became brighter and brighter. Xiaoruo, your motorcycle skills are amazing. Are you a professional racing driver? Even better than Kirito, Shino raised her head, felt the flow of the surrounding wind, and couldn't help cheering. Do you like this feeling? Xiaoruo asked with a smile. I like it, it's so cool. Sinan felt her body trembling with excitement. The experience of riding a motorcycle on the road is really exciting. What is more exciting than games is to do things that can only be done in games in reality. Breaking the rules, this kind of rebellious excitement, most girls can't refuse, and they can't forget it afterwards. It's the same for Xiaoruo. The motorcycle she just bought can carry the goddess on a racing bike, and listening to the goddess screams is really exciting. Not only that, while Xiaoruo was racing, she also took Shino to follow the instructions on the forum to clean up some undefeated bosses. In the mid-stage plot of the serial battle, because Dr. Shigemura accelerated the pace, Sao's boss appeared in many places in Tokyo. The appearance time of these bosses is unified at 9 o'clock, and the dungeon scene where they appear will end only after defeating these bosses. Both Kirito and Sinan are among the best gamers, so they fought the boss very fast, and the battle was resolved in only 10 minutes, but the rest of the players were not so fast. Sao's bosses are hard-boiled, with weird and varied skills, and the strategy group in VR is difficult to fight together, let alone AR in the absence of a master. The average player's failure to cooperate in AR is really just death, and they can only rely on the number of people to grind their blood a little bit. So when Kirito and Shino finished solving the bosses in other areas were still killing novices, and there were hellish scenes everywhere. Just as those players were working together to give a flying boss a pedicure, there was a roar of motorcycles. At the same time, there was a female shooter raising a sniper rifle behind the motorcycle. Peng. Even while moving, a sniper bullet still directly penetrated the boss's head, causing fatal injuries to the boss with low blood volume. The boss exploded instantly and disappeared into the air. Woohoo! Seeing that she killed the boss with one shot, Shino couldn't help but let out a cheer. "You're handsome, Sinan." Syaruo couldn't help but praise. As expected of the strongest sniper in the VR world, he can still hit vital points while moving. With the roar, just like the Ghost Rider, the beast-like motorcycle disappeared from the sight of the rest of the players. Only the rest of the players were left in a daze. Why was the boss robbed? And isn't this a blocked area? You feel so handsome, what should I do? Of course, Syaruo didn't care about those players who were robbed of monsters at all. He drove Sinan to a boss hunting ground in a few minutes, and brushed 5 boss strongholds in a row. Sinan is also completely immersed in such a unique mode of fighting monsters. Taking the girl racing to fight the boss, listening to the girl's screams, Syaruo felt that the fantasy world was indeed too exciting. Now Syaruo always feels that she is not in the world of swords and swords, but in the theater version of Conan world, freeing herself as she pleases. It was almost 10 o'clock when Syaruo took Shino to the destination Ginza, and took her to a very exquisite restaurant. Even though she was sitting in a quiet restaurant and there was no roar of engines around her, Sinan still couldn't calm down her heart that was throbbing with excitement just now. Everything just now seemed to be an illusion. From one world, came to another world. The pre-dinner activities just now were indeed a bit too exciting. Sinan felt her hands were still shaking from excitement. "How is it? Are you in a better mood?" "At the beginning, you felt that you were in a bad mood," Syaruo asked Sinan softly after ordering the meal, as if she wasn't the one who was racing on the streets of Tokyo just now. "Well, thank you, Syaruo." Sinan touched her chest, and forced herself to calm down. As for the unhappiness that happened when she met Kirito just now, Sinan had completely forgotten about it. "That's good." The corners of Syaruo's mouth curled up slightly, and her eyes stared straight at Shino's. "Sinan, you don't blame me for dragging you to defeat the boss just now. It's so late, I'm really sorry. I just saw you and Mr. Kirito team up to defeat the boss, and I feel that Sinan-chan is yours. The sniper action is so cool, so I also want to team up with you Sinan to fight the boss, and experience the feeling of supporting Sinan-chan." Plop, plop. When Sinan heard Syaruo's words, she felt her heartbeat speed up a lot. "How handsome am I? And what's the benefit of assisting me?" Sinan said in a low voice, not daring to look into Syaruo's eyes. "He's very handsome. Maybe Sinan you can't find it by yourself. He's strong and handsome. I was very happy to support you just now, but I'm a little envious of Mr. Kirito. He's one step ahead of me," Syaruo said with a light smile. "One step earlier? What's early?" Sinan always felt that Syaruo's words seemed to have other meanings, and her mood was complicated. At this time, the waiter brought up the green tea that had just been ordered, and a strong smell of tea came oncoming. Syaruo picked up the teacup and took a sip. It seemed that she was afraid that Sinan would misunderstand what she said just now. Syaruo finally added the sentence, "Don't get me wrong, Sinan-chan, I just want to play games with you, there is nothing else mean." "Sinan. It's hard not to be misunderstood when you talk like this." Shino was teased by Syaruo, her heart was pounding, but she couldn't understand Syaruo's real thoughts. "I can break the dimensional wall." Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 393. It didn't take long for the cake to arrive. Syaruo didn't really like cakes, but because she was with Shino, Syaruo still ate a couple of casual bites, and the taste was not bad. Shino seemed to be afraid to look into Syaruo's eyes because of what Syaruo said just now, but just lowered her head and ate the cake. The atmosphere suddenly fell into silence. "It's too late," Syaruo didn't continue to joke with Sinan. The favorability is about the same, and it's time to get down to business. Syaruo spoke first, breaking the awkward atmosphere. Sinan, do you have any troubles recently? We are friends, tell me if you have anything, maybe I can help you. When Shino heard Syaruo's words, she raised her head slightly, as if she was a little surprised that Syaruo could see that she was in trouble. She originally wanted to tell Syaruo about the amnesia of Sao players, but after thinking of Kirito's request, Shino hesitated for a moment and refused. No, I have nothing to do recently. Shino thinks that it's better for Kirito and Syaruo not to be together, and Kirito doesn't want to see Syaruo either. Moreover, Sinan also felt that Syaruo couldn't help much, and Kirito and herself were enough for this matter. Really? Shino, do you just distrust me that much? Syaruo's tone was a little disappointed. Asuna and Klein have lost their memory, right? You and Kirito are busy with this matter tonight, right? Syaruo suddenly said something that surprised Sinan. How do you know? Shino shouted in surprise. She remembered that she had never told Syaruo about Asuna's amnesia, and not many people knew about it. Where did Syaruo know about it? Syaruo didn't explain to Sinan why she knew about this, but directly released her big move. I have a way to solve Asuna's problem, and I also know who is behind this matter. You can help all Sao players regain their memory. There was a snap. Shino slapped the table and stood up, her tone a little excited. Who did it, and how can Asuna regain her memory? Sinan couldn't help being excited. The doctor said there was no other way, and Kirito couldn't find a clue. Everyone was worried about Asuna all day long, but Syaruo had no news about it. As the saying goes, there is no way out when there are many mountains and rivers, there is no way out, and the willows are dark and the flowers are bright, and there is another village. Today's Shino thinks like this. Seeing Sinan so excited, Syaruo was very calm. Syaruo leaned on the table with one arm to support her chin, and looked at Shino with a smile. Sinan-chan, the matter of Asuna's memory loss has nothing to do with you. If I'm not wrong, you did this to help Kirito, and to help Kirito's girlfriend. It's too much, Shinai-chan. When she came out on a date with me, she was always thinking about other boys, and she didn't care about my feelings at all. What date? Didn't you just treat me to cake? Shino blushed and began to deny the fact of dating. So we're not dating, it's just that the two of us had a normal meal of cake, Syaruo said word by word, with a heavy voice. Shino's face became more and more red. In fact, thinking back, it's not a problem to say that she was dating Syaruo tonight. After all, when she was sitting on the back of Syaruo's motorcycle, some actions were almost as intimate as a couple. But she always felt that Syaruo did it on purpose, and in retrospect, everything she did tonight was like a trap. Damn, how could there be someone who likes to bully girls so much? At this time, Syaruo in Shino's eyes is no longer the gentle boy just now, but has become a fox, and Shino feels that Syaruo is more and more elusive. Asuna is my friend, I want to help her recover her memory, it has nothing to do with Kirito, so how can you tell me? Sinan looked at Syaruo angrily. Because Syaruo's favorability was relatively high before, she wasn't really angry, but just wanted to hide the blush on her face in an angry way. Syaruo still looked at Sinan with a smile. In the original work, Shino was untied by Kirito for many years, so she has very deep feelings for Kirito, and Syaruo also knows that she will not be able to surpass Kirito for a while. But teasing Sinan like this is also quite fun. Of course, Shino, you promise me one condition. A condition? Sure enough, is the target me? Shino had already guessed that she wasn't an idiot after all. Syaruo's behavior was too obvious along the way, she was hooked from the moment she got on the motorcycle. In Shino's eyes, the smiling Syaruo has completely turned into a fox wagging its tail. Now that the fox's tail is finally exposed, the big tail is wagging, and it doesn't look like a good thing. Shameless, how could such a shameless person use such despicable methods to coerce girls? Bastard. What conditions? Tell me. Shino gritted her teeth and asked. She decided that no matter what requests Syoruo made, she must get information about Asuna's memory recovery from Syoruo. After Asuna lost her memory, everyone it was very painful. Sinan wanted to end it all. However, Sinan felt her heart beating very fast when she thought that Syoruo might propose some weird conditions. Kiss. Or dating. As for the more excessive ones, Shino thinks that Syoruo shouldn't be that bad. It is very surprising that Syoruo may make demands against her will, even though she may be coerced. However, when thinking of those pictures, Sinan only felt her heart beat faster, but she didn't feel much disgust towards Syoruo, and Sinan, who noticed this, was also a little hard to understand. Could it be that he fell in love with this guy? In fact, Sinan guessed the same thing, although Sinan felt that she just had a crush on Syoruo, but if she really didn't like it at all, it was impossible for Sinan to agree to Syoruo's condition. It's just that Sinan didn't realize this. She shook her head. It's right that I like Kirito. Shino emphasized this fact in her heart, but Shino didn't realize that Kirito's shadow in her mind was getting weaker and weaker. Tell me, what do you want me to do? Sinan raised her head, as if she was going to die generously. It's just that her blushing, biting her red lips, and gnashing her teeth are so cute that it's hard not to have other thoughts. Unfortunately, only Syoruo saw this scene. Looking at Sinan's face, Syoruo hesitated. Syoruo dared to swear to God, he didn't intend to use this condition to take advantage of Sinan at first. He is a decent person, forcing girls to do things they don't like. Syoruo can't do it, and it's something only animals do. Xia is not a beast. Syoruo's actions seem to be arbitrary, but they are actually planned. His plan was very ordinary, first to get Sinan's favor, and then use the important information that he had restored Asuna's memory, and then ask Sinan to promise himself a condition. The content of the condition was also what Syoruo had thought of long ago, that is, let Sinan join the Hall of Valor and become the person in charge of the World Heroic Division of her sword, and let Sinan use her network to help her attract some famous talents in animation to join the Hall of Valor, adding talents to the Hall of Valor. These are complete plans, very serious, and even the purpose of inviting Shino is for this purpose, to let Sinan, a game master, join the Hall of Valor. But it was the last step. Looking at Sinan's look of "you can ask for anything you want," Syoruo suddenly felt that the plan could actually be changed. There was no way. Sinan's expression was too foul. It's such a time, if I come according to the original plan, I won't even be as good as a beast. Syoruo got up directly and sat down very close to Shino. What are you doing? Sinan's eyes dodged a little. Syoruo stretched out her arm, passed through Shino's back, put her hand on Shino's shoulder, and with a little force, Sinan fell into Syoruo's arms. Ah! Sinan only felt a force, and then buried herself in Syoruo's arms. The two stuck together, and even Sinan could hear Syoruo's heartbeat. My request is to hug Sinan for a while. Don't worry, I won't do strange things, Syoruo whispered in Sinan's ear. After hearing Syoruo's words, Sinan calmed down a little and stopped struggling. Sinan's figure is very petite, her arms and torso are extremely slender, leaning against Syoruo's arms, like a poor little animal. Sinan doesn't know what she thinks now, but she always feels that when Syoruo holds her in her arms, she is very warm. It is also the first time that Sinan has experienced the feeling of being hugged by someone, as if there is something in her chest. Something is about to jump out. Wait a moment, Sinan felt Syoruo's hand slipping down to her waist. Liar, did you agree not to do weird things? Feeling the temperature of the girl in her arms, Syoruo rubbed Shino's long hair with the other hand. The soft feeling was many times more exciting than touching a cat. Syaruo couldn't hold back, and moved her face closer on Sinan's hair. She took a sharp breath. Suck. After inhaling, Syaruo raised the corners of her mouth slightly, with a happy expression on her face. It smells good. Shino buried her face in Syaruo's arms, as if she was afraid that Syaruo would see her shameful expression. Sinan gritted her teeth. What is this, treating herself as a child or a cat? Maybe I'm really not a good person. Syaruo leaned into Shino's ear and said softly, with an unexpectedly apologetic tone, I didn't have such thoughts at first, but Shino's expression just now was too foul. Shino, will you forgive me? By the way, let me tell you one more thing. From the first time I saw you, I wanted to hold you in my arms like this. Shino's body trembled in Syaruo's embrace. After a long time, Sinan's faint sound of mosquitoes and flies came from Syaruo's arms. Bastard. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 394. After eating the cake, Syaruo drove Sinan back home on a motorcycle. On the way, Shino didn't say a word. Her eyes were complicated, she was out of shape, and she even forgot to ask Syaruo about Asuna's amnesia. When she was hugged by Syaruo just now, feeling Syaruo's body temperature, Sinan always felt her heart was in a mess. Not only that, Shino's gaze also inadvertently swept across Syaruo's chest. I can't tell, this villain is still in good shape. When Shino was hugged, she clearly felt the firm muscles, but Syaruo was wearing clothes, so she couldn't see it at all. It wasn't until they reached the door that Sinan seemed to remember about Asuna. You, hugged you too, it's time to fulfill your promise, Sinan said, looking up at Syaruo. Sinan decided that if Syaruo had lied to her just now, then she would definitely make this rascal look good. Syaruo slightly turned her eyes away, as if she was embarrassed to look directly into Sinan's eyes. Of course, the promise must be kept. The mastermind behind the memory loss of SAO players is Dr. Shigemura of Kyoto Institute of Technology, and he planned this incident. Dr. Shigemura? Sinan seemed to have never heard of this person. Yes, Dr. Shigemura is the founder of Ogma. The cause of this incident can be traced back to a few years ago. Dr. Shigemura's daughter Yuna died in the SAO incident, so Dr. Shigemura wants to use the Ogma device to capture the memories of SAO players. Extract all the information about the daughter from their memories, and then use these memories to resurrect the daughter in the form of AI. After that, Syaruo completely told Sinan about Dr. Shigemura's plan. Yuna, that super popular virtual singer. That's how it is. Shino was a little shocked when she heard Syaruo's secret. Shino also met Yuna, so she felt that Syaruo didn't lie to herself. Using memory to resurrect, the resurrection is just a memory. I will go to Kirito tomorrow, and we will call the police to stop him. By the way, no matter what, thank you for telling me about this. Although Sinan said so, when she thought of the sacrifice she had made for this piece of information, she looked a little embarrassed and her face turned red. Just a hug, well, just a hug. Normal heart. Normal heart. I didn't feel moved. Sinan exhaled lightly, and adjusted her emotions for a while. At the same time, Sinan was still curious about how Syaruo knew about this matter, but Syaruo kept avoiding talking about it. Hearing that Sinan wanted to call the police, Syaruo shook her head. If there is no evidence, it is useless for you to call the police, and Yuna's concert in a few days will be the last date of Dr. Shigemura's resurrection plan. If the virtual Yuna is really revived, then Asuna's memory may be real. I can't come back. Then what to do? Shino asked quickly. She subconsciously chose to believe Syaruo. Hearing Syaruo's words, Shino immediately became nervous. Don't worry, Sinan, I have a way to solve this matter, Syaruo smiled slightly. Let me solve this matter, give me a day, I will solve this matter and help Yasina regained her memory. You. Shino looked at Syaruo and shook her head. Syaruo, you have nothing to do with this matter, and you might be in danger. There is no need for you to get involved in such a complicated matter. Sinan was as kind as ever, and didn't want Syaruo to get involved in such a dangerous thing. Why doesn't it have anything to do with me? Syaruo asked back. Asuna is Sinan's friend, since she is Sinan's friend, of course it is my duty to help. Shino looked at Syaruo with a complicated expression, and finally nodded in agreement. Sinan guessed that Syaruo might be a very powerful hacker, that's why she was so sure. Then, be careful then. Well, Shino, just wait for my good news. Saying goodbye to Sinan, Syaruo is also ready to formally attack Dr. Shigemura. At around 10 o'clock in the evening, Syaruo directly broke into the place where Dr. Shigemura lived. As for the security around the house, it was completely paperless to Syaruo's home. Although it was so late, Dr. Shigemura seemed to be still writing some papers at his desk, and there was a photo of his daughter Yuna on the desk. Even though Syaruo had come very close to Dr. Shigemura, Dr. Shigemura didn't notice him at all. Hello, Dr. Shigemura. Syaruo's sudden sound startled Dr. Shigemura, who was working. However, he quickly regained his composure. Looking at the strange figure in his house, he asked in a flat voice, "How did you get in? What can I do for you?" Syaruo pulled out a chair and sat on it very naturally. Dr. Shigemura, please don't worry, I don't mean anything malicious. You just broke into my house without any malice. If you have anything to ask me, please make an appointment at Kyoto Institute of Technology tomorrow morning. I might meet you when I have time. Dr. Shigemura still had a calm expression on his face, but his tone was not very polite. The doctor was joking. It's not that I have anything to ask you, I'm here to help you, Syaruo said, picking up the photo of Yuna that was put aside. I know, Dr. Shigemura, you want to resurrect your daughter, but the method of resurrection that doesn't even touch the soul is really too low level. The so-called resurrection is nothing more than creating a fake with only memories. How about I help you resurrect your daughter completely? When he heard resurrection, Dr. Shigemura's face changed. He didn't know how the young man in front of him knew what he was going to do. But after listening to Syaruo's words, Dr. Shigemura still frowned. Soul. As a senior intellectual living in a world without mystery, Dr. Shigemura naturally does not believe in something completely mysterious like the soul. Looking at Dr. Shigemura's expression, Syaruo knew that he would not believe him. Of course, it doesn't matter. To deal with this kind of person, the method should be more straightforward. Snapped. Syaruo snapped her fingers. The next moment, a space vortex appeared, and Dr. Shigemura and Syaruo were transported to the world of Inuyasha together. This place used to be the corpse pit left by Kikyo killing the monster sea, surrounded by the corpses and flesh and blood of giant monsters, and because of the heavy resentment of the corpses, some new monsters began to breed in it. Anyone who comes here will be shocked. Where is this place? Dr. Shigemura looked at the monster corpses around him, as well as the bloody smell and the hell-like scenery. His expression finally changed. In the distance, he also felt very scary creatures flying in the air. What is this? What kind of virtual game did I enter? No, I was still at home just now. Dr. Shigemura used his previous game experience to test it, and found that he was not in the game, but the real reality. Realizing this, he couldn't calm down at all. The world is big, don't think that you know everything. Syaruo smiled at Dr. Zonkin. How about it, can we talk now? When Dr. Shigemura looked at Syaruo again, there seemed to be something more in his eyes. Dr. Shigemura had sworn before that if he could resurrect his daughter, he could even turn to the devil. You just said that you can resurrect my daughter. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 395. When Xiaoruo brought Dr. Shigemura back to the world of swords and swords, the two had already negotiated the terms. There is no coercion or temptation, just an ordinary transaction. Xiaoruo helped Dr. Shigemura resurrect his daughter, and Dr. Shigemura worked for Xiaoruo after her daughter's resurrection, and handed over all the technology to Xiaoruo. The three views established by Dr. Shigemura, who has seen the mysterious power, have all collapsed, but it also gave birth to a glimmer of hope. The hope of resurrecting her daughter. Even being able to do things like travel through the world, maybe his daughter can really be resurrected. Everything he owns is not as important as his daughter, this is what Dr. Shigemura thinks. Of course, Dr. Shigemura's only condition is to see his daughter before he can work for Xiaoruo, which Xiaoruo did not refuse. It's a fairly fair deal. However, when Xiaoruo returned to Dr. Shigemura's room, he seemed to have thought of something, and stretched out his hand to turn on his Ogma device. Sure enough, after opening Ogma, a white figure appeared in front of Xiaoruo. The figure that appeared was naturally a Yuna in white from the sequential strife. Xiaoruo guessed that she would be here. This Yuna in white is an AI creature who has inherited the kindness of the doctor's daughter. She guides Kirito in the original work and is completely Kirito's caring assistant in the theatrical version. In the end, he disappeared because the boss was defeated, which is a very popular and tragic character. Xiaoruo has a good impression of her, especially at the end of the animation. The song sung by this girl is very nice, and she is as cute and kind as an elf. Dad, where did you go just now, and who is this guy? Yuna looked at Xiaoruo with vigilant eyes, and she had an intuition that this person was very dangerous. Just now, she actually felt her father's Ogma signal disappear for a few minutes, and now there is such a person in the family, it is hard for her not to have doubts about this person in front of her. Doctor, is this your daughter? It's so cute. Xiaoruo looked at Yuna in white and praised, Yuna in white is exactly the same as the doctor's daughter. Looking at it closely, she is definitely a beautiful girl. Not to mention that the other party is still a virtual singer who conquered Japan, with a beautiful singing voice. Xiaoruo felt that what her Hall of Valor needed was such a talent. Dr. Shigemura shook his head, without much emotion in his tone. No, she is not my daughter yet, the memory has not been collected yet, this is just a half-finished product. Hearing the semi-finished product, Yuna's eyes flashed a trace of sadness. Miss Yuna, I saw you a few hours ago at a boss hunting place, you seem to be showing Kirito the way, right? Xiaoruo smiled and looked at Yuna in white. If she hadn't appeared at that time, Kirito would not abandon Sinan, let Sinan stay in the same place alone, and speaking of which, she even helped him. Yuna was startled when she heard Xiaoruo's words, but she quickly recovered her calm. You may be mistaken. My eyes are very good, I can't be mistaken, it was indeed Miss Yuna at that time. Xiaoruo looked at Yuna in with deep eyes, you didn't show Kirito the way because you wanted to let the legendary destroy your father's plan, the Black Swordsman. You. Yuna immediately looked at her father, and sure enough, Dr. Shigemura also looked at her suspiciously. Seeing Yuna's embarrassment, Xiaoruo couldn't help laughing. Okay, stop teasing you, Miss Yuna, it doesn't matter what you want to do, your father has promised to give me everything in Ogma including you, and you will be mine in a few days. When talking about this, Xiaoruo touched Yuna's white hair with a magical hand, it was very smooth, not at all like an AI composed of data. Just like what Xiaoruo said, Yuna, as the main AI of Ogma, is also part of the transaction. Xiaoruo still had a smile on her face, Yuna, I will be your master from now on. What? Yuna's eyes widened in disbelief, and she took 2 steps back, avoiding the young man's hand on her head. After hearing what she just said, she could no longer keep calm. Dad, is what he said true? Are you going to give me to this person? Bayuna turned her head to look at her father, hoping that her father would deny what the young man said just now, but all she waited for was his father's silence. Silence is also equivalent to a kind of acknowledgement. Dad, why? Bayuna's heart is cold. Although she is an AI, her emotions are not weaker than ordinary people. She doesn't understand why her father would give herself to other people like goods. Even if she is not her father's real daughter, he also made it by himself. And isn't he going to resurrect the father's real daughter with his own body? Why? Hearing Yuna asking himself this, Dr. Shigemura sighed and looked at Bayuna with complicated eyes. Mr. Syaruo can truly resurrect Yuna. Hearing her father's words, Bayuna's first reaction was that her father had been cheated, and she couldn't help shouting. Resurrection! Father, don't be fooled by him, how can there be a real resurrection? It's just that no matter how much Bayuna shouted, neither the doctor nor Syaruo responded to her. Faced with this situation, her AI has nothing to do, Yuna can only look forward to it. I look forward to the appearance of Kirito, just like the hero in the story, to end this farce of resurrection. Mr. Syaruo, when can I revive my daughter? I can prepare everything I need, Dr. Shigemura said in a more excited tone than usual when talking about the resurrection of his daughter. There's nothing to prepare for the resurrection, let's do it now, Syaruo didn't want to drag on any longer. Thank you very much. Late at night, Syaruo and Dr. Shigemura drove to the cemetery where Yuna was buried. Syaruo felt that a lot of things really happened that night, and when they showed up at the cemetery, it was almost 12 o'clock at night. However, this time was indeed just right, and there was no one in the cemetery, so it would not be discovered when the tomb was robbed. Although there were guards outside, Syaruo easily brought Dr. Shigemura to the center of the cemetery. Under the guidance of Dr. Shigemura, Syaruo came to Yuna's tomb. Mr. Syaruo, do you only need Yuna's ashes to revive Yuna? Dr. Shigemura asked nervously. I don't know if he was nervous about digging up his daughter's ashes, or because his daughter might be resurrected. Well, as long as the ashes are enough. Syaruo nodded, then turned her head to look at Yuna in white who had been following beside her. This AI is like a ghost, following behind the two of them all the time, even driving. Why can she follow us all the time? Seeing Syaruo looking at her, Yuna couldn't help making a face at Syaruo. She came here just to see what this guy can do. She believed that although her father was being deceived now, he would definitely be able to see through this guy's true face, and it was impossible for her to be given to this person. Ogma covers the entire Tokyo, and Yuna can appear wherever the Ogma network covers, Dr. Shigemura explained, but he seemed to be afraid that Syaruo would be worried, so he added, I have issued an order, so there will be no reporting to the police and no leaking of our information. Well, Syaruo nodded. By the way, Mr. Syaruo, do you need tools? We didn't have any tools when we came. Although he was going to dig his daughter's grave, Dr. Shigemura didn't look sad at all, but was very anxious. No tools required. Syaruo waved her hand, and a white flame appeared beside Syaruo. Bang! The white flame spun around, and an old woman in a strange dress floated in front of everyone. Master Syaruo, why did you summon me? I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 396. White flames, a strange dress, a terrifying face, and a long scythe like a death god behind her. The appearance of the ghost girl Li Tao is quite oppressive, after all, she is an old monster who has lived for an unknown number of years. Both Dr. Shigemura and Shiroi Yuna took a step back because of her appearance. Even if they didn't know each other, they all felt the danger from Li Tao. Li Tao, I summoned you in the hope that you would resurrect a person, Syaruo said, pointing to the cemetery of the doctor's daughter. Her ashes are here. There are still flowers enshrined on that tombstone, and it seems that people often come here to see her. Dr. Shigemura at the side also heard Sioruo's words, and knew that this scary-looking monster was the one who revived his daughter, so he couldn't help but clenched his fists and suppressed his inner excitement. "I understand, Lord Sioruo, leave this matter to me." Li Tao, the ghost girl, was very sensible, and walked directly to the tomb without asking too many questions. As for the location of the ashes, Li Tao is a master tomb robber after all, and he can determine the location with just a little perception. Li Tao directly took out her commonly used weapon, the sickle, from behind her, and aimed the sickle at the grave. Open. In an instant, several white lights shot out from Li Tao's sickle. Peng. With a loud noise, the doctor's daughter's tomb exploded directly. Although Dr. Shigemura on the side was a little surprised by this mysterious power that he had never seen before, he was more concerned about his daughter's ashes. The other party broke open the tomb so roughly, his daughter's ashes would be fine. But his worry was obviously unnecessary. Li Tao's tomb robbing skills were simply superb. After she got into the broken tomb, she quickly took out an urn wrapped in black cloth. It seems that although Li Tao's method of opening the tomb is rough, his technique is indeed good. Holding the urn, Li Tao came to Sioruo's side. "Lord Sioruo, the ashes have been obtained, now I need to go back to my ghost kill to burn her body to revive her. Is it impossible to resurrect in this world?" Sioruo asked curiously, without any other meaning. Sioruo simply wanted to understand this technique. "It's okay in this world, but without the assistance of my ghost kill, the finished product may be worse, and the fired body may be slightly different from the main body, but my ghost kill will definitely be exactly the same as the main body," Li Tao said. Instead, he honestly told Sioruo some shortcomings of his resurrection technique. "Well, let's go then." Sioruo didn't tell Dr. Shigemura anything, but did it directly, pulling Li Tao and the doctor directly into the world of Inuyasha. At the scene, there were only the guards who came because of the explosion, and Ayuna, who was completely confused and didn't understand what happened just now. What the hell just happened? The tomb of Dr. Shigemura's daughter was stolen. As the founder of Ogma, Dr. Shigemura is still quite famous. Reporters were there as soon as the tomb robbery incident happened. Soon, this incident spread as a heavyweight news on the internet. Although it was already midnight, many players who played Sequence Wars knew about it. In the world of Inuyasha, Sioruo also came to her ghost kill with the ghost girl Li Tao. From the outside, this ghost kill is actually not much different from ordinary pottery kills, but Sioruo can feel the specialness of this kill. Did not feel a trace of evil. Bringing the dead back to life, changing one's life against the sky, it seems that Li Tao's art has surpassed the scope of black art. "Mr. Sioruo, this." After seeing the ghost kill, Dr. Shigemura looked at Sioruo in puzzlement. He suddenly realized that this way of resurrection was somewhat different from what he had imagined. If your daughter wants to be resurrected, she must have a body that can carry her soul. Sioruo didn't say any more. The doctor is a smart person, so he can naturally understand what he means. Sure enough, upon hearing what Sioruo said, Dr. Shigemura immediately understood what Sioruo meant. Burning the body of a terracotta figurine, and then putting the soul into the terracotta figurine to resurrect, Dr. Shigemura touched his nose subconsciously. "I always feel that this method of resurrection is quite scientific, a bit like the creation of human beings by Nuwa in Oriental mythology." In fact, Sioruo once thought that if she could obtain the human cloning technology in the world of the Magic Forbidden Books catalog, then she could use the DNA cloned body plus soul technology to complete the real perfect physical resurrection. "How long will it take to revive the person in your hand?" Sioruo asked Li Tao. "If you want to burn it delicately, it will take about 4 or 5 hours, Li Tao replied honestly. It was faster than Sioruo imagined. "Then go ahead and cook it more delicately," Sioruo instructed. "Yes, my lord." Li Tao nodded quickly. Please, please revive my daughter. Dr. Shigemura on the side bent over and begged Ridao like a parent watching his daughter about to enter the operating room outside the operating room. However, what was sent to the operating room this time was just a box of ashes. Sending a box of ashes in, and then my daughter came out alive. This scene feels outrageous when you think about it. He didn't know about Lidao's skills, and he only hoped that his daughter could be burned to a hole. Anyway, as long as his daughter was resurrected, even if she was burned into a figure, he would recognize it. Lidao looked at Dr. Zonkin and knew that this person was someone Xiaoruo valued, so she did not dare to neglect. Don't worry, I have burned Tao for so many years, and there has never been an accident, let alone your daughter who died not long ago. Even if you bring your wife who died for who knows how many years, and the ashes of your parents, I can burn them for you together. Dr. Shigemura. Soon, Lidao took the ashes of the doctor's daughter into the ghost kill and began firing the body. Xiaoruo only glanced at it for a few times before losing interest. Because there is still a period of time, Xiaoruo circled around Guiyao Mountain, and the whole Guiyao Mountain is surrounded by densely packed pottery figurines similar to terracotta warriors and horses, but these pottery figurines lost their spirituality and shattered to pieces. Seems to have experienced a big battle. It should have been done when Kikyo came over. Xiaoruo touched the terracotta figurines on the ground, and unexpectedly found that the texture of these terracotta figurines was good, and Xiaoruo scanned a little, and there were probably at least tens of thousands of terracotta figurines. There are tens of thousands. Is firing pottery so efficient? Looking at the fragments of pottery figurines all over the place, Xiaoruo suddenly had a strange idea in her mind. About an hour later, Lidao came out of the ghost kill. Her technique had been completed, and she just had to wait a few hours for the figurines to be fired. Seeing her coming out, Xiaoruo immediately called Lidao. Li Tao, look, can you burn this? Xiaoruo took out a fine figure of Rem's evening dress from her private space, and handed it to Lidao. The figure that Xiaoruo took out probably sold for 3,000 yuan on Mengzhan. This. Lidao held the unspiritual figurine in her hand, and seemed a little hesitant. She didn't understand why Lord Xiaoruo would make such a poor quality clay puppet for a mortal like herself. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 397. The body of the doctor's daughter is still being fired in the ghost kill, and it will take several hours. During the waiting period, Xiaoruo had nothing to do, so she handed the Rem figure in her collection to Lidao, to see if she could burn a similar one. Li Tao took the Rem figure that Xiaoruo gave him, with a look of disdain. Useless shoddy decorations. This is Lidao's evaluation of the clay puppet in his hand. Although the figurine given by Xiaoruo is a high-quality figurine, it is still a dead thing without a trace of spirituality. It is completely a mortal work, and the quality is extremely poor. Naturally, it will not be regarded by an old monster like Li Tao. The appearance of the figure looks gaudy, and it looks better than his own puppet soldiers, but in Lidao's eyes, they are just some inferior skills, and their functions are not as good as his own puppet soldiers. But since it was Xiaoruo's request, Li Tao naturally had to find a way to meet it. Not only that, but Li Tao also planned to show Xiaoruo his pottery craft. Be a little more serious. Li Tao looked up and down the details on the figure, and almost had a plan in mind. How long does it take to burn one? Xiaoruo couldn't help asking after seeing Lidao holding the figurine for a long time. Lord Xiaoruo, if you just copy this clay puppet without burning the body, it's actually not that troublesome, and you don't need a kiln to make it. You can just use the scraps on site to make it. A strange imprint was formed on Lidao's hand, and then he pointed with a divine hand, and the fragments of pottery figurines smashed by bellflowers gathered together in an instant. These fragments of pottery figurines were all fired in a ghost kill, with the spiritual power of Lidao in them, and they are not ordinary leftovers at all. If it is ordinary pottery clay, Lidao would have to be fired in a ghost kill. The fragments merged for a while, and a Ram terracotta figurine in an evening dress that was exactly the same as the figure that Sioruo took out just now appeared in front of Sioruo. Not only the appearance and posture, but even the details of the evening dress are exactly the same. So fast. Sioruo was a little surprised to see the Ram doll made by Lidao, and it was ready in less than 10 seconds. The Ram figurine made by Lidao is much larger than the one Sioruo took out. The one Sioruo took out just now is about 20 centimeters, but this figurine is about 1.6 meters high, and it is a life-size figurine. Except for the lack of color, it is exactly the same as the one I just took out. Really not bad. Sioruo couldn't help but praised. He walked around Ram's big figure, and found that this big figure was even better than he imagined. It was originally an expensive boutique figure, but now it has been expanded to the size of the body. Even if it is not colored, you can still feel a little bit of surprise from the evening dress Ram in front of you. What will happen if it is colored? Cannot imagine. Sioruo also understands the price of figurines. Large figurines are much more expensive than ordinary figurines. The price of such high-quality large figurines is almost 100,000. The point is, the ones made by Lidao are obviously better than those 100,000 yuan big figures. Although the general big figures look very good looking, they still have obvious defects. After all, large figures are dead objects, and figures that are the size of a person will always have an eerie feeling after looking at them for a long time. However, the large figurines made by Lidao are different. The Ram made by Lidao unexpectedly has a hint of spirituality in their eyes. I always feel that this puppet is not a figurine, but a living thing. This point has surpassed all figures. Seeing that Sioruo was very satisfied with the pottery figurine, Li Tao also puffed up his chest, looking very confident in his pottery figurine. Lord Sioruo, the pottery puppets I made are not just vases and decorations, they also have many practical functions. Practical function? Sioruo looked at Lidao curiously. Li Tao did not explain directly, but found a samurai sword from the fragments of terracotta warriors scattered on the ground. Without saying a word, Li Tao directly picked up the samurai sword and slashed at the Ram Tao puppet's head. With a bang, the samurai sword slashed on the head of the big figure, and it actually made the sound of slashing on a hard object, and was bounced off directly. Not only that, Sioruo noticed that the place where the samurai sword had just slashed, the big figure was unscathed, and there was not even a white mark. Lord Sioruo, my pottery puppets are fired for war. These pottery puppets are invulnerable warriors. The attacks of ordinary soldiers can't break her defense at all. Apart from defense, the pottery puppets also have very strong attack ability. After Lidao finished his introduction, he handed the samurai sword to Ram's figurine. Show Master Sioruo your sword skills. Sioruo. Looking at Lidao who was doing his best to demonstrate, Sioruo suddenly wanted to say, I just want to sell a figure, I don't need these extra functions, you will frighten customers. It's a pity that Lidao didn't know Sioruo's thoughts at all. When Lidao finished saying that sentence, the Ram doll, who had been motionless just now, suddenly moved. The figures moved. The Ram Tao puppet first bowed slightly to salute, then stretched out its hand to hold the samurai sword, made a few tricks in an instant, and then slashed at the open space in front of it. The movements were clean and neat, and it seemed that it was indeed a master of swordsmanship. A large figure of a two-dimensional Ram image in a flexible dancing sword. The figure I bought is a master of swordsmanship. What a lie. Sioruo didn't know what expression she had at this time. These functions must be cut off, they must be cut off, Sioruo thought to herself as she looked at the figure of Ram dancing the sword. Seeing Tao puppet's performance, Li Tao also nodded in satisfaction. The pottery puppets I baked all have the souls of the dead in them. These souls have simple wisdom. As long as the master gives orders, even if it is an order to send death, the pottery puppets will fully obey. Of course, if Lord Xiaoruo doesn't need Tao puppet fighting, some simple dances, or tasks such as cleaning can all be done by the puppet. I can find any undead with relevant memories if I need pottery puppets to have any skills. Li Tao seemed to be very satisfied with his skills, and his tone was full of pride when he spoke. As for where the undead come from, Li Tao didn't care at all. Isn't this troubled world full of undead? If you really can't find an undead with relevant skills, then find a living person to kill and take the spirit, or even resurrect it directly to make a physical puppet. Dr. Shigemura, who was silently watching all this from the side, was completely stunned. Is this a fully automatic intelligent robot made by the mysterious side, or is it a combination of combat and home use? He really opened his eyes today. Wearing an evening dress, the two-dimensional image of Rem has begun to clean up the fragments of pottery puppets around him. Although he is wearing an evening dress, he looks as well behaved as an ordinary maid. Xiaoruo thought for the last moment, then patted Li Tao on the shoulder. You did a good job. Thank you Lord Xiaoruo for your compliment, Li Tao bowed and saluted. Xiaoruo felt that although the figure made by Li Tao was slightly different from what he had imagined, except for those redundant functions, the figure was really good, and it could also be used as a figure factory in the future. Just give some rewards. Thinking of this, Xiaoruo stretched out her hand and injected a bit of fantasy power into Li Tao's body, about 100 points. You did a good job this time, and this is your reward. In an instant, Li Tao felt a majestic vitality emerging from her body, and she vaguely felt that she seemed much younger. Li Tao touched his face, and the wrinkles on the old wrinkled face were obviously reduced a lot. Li Tao, who noticed this, was instantly filled with surprise. Thank you Lord Xiaoruo. Li Tao quickly bent down to the ground, on the one hand to thank him, on the other hand he was a little shocked by Xiaoruo's power, which can even restore the youth of the monster. In the past, he surrendered to Xiaoruo probably because of the strength of Kikyo and the submission of weak monsters to the strong, but now that he has felt the benefits, Li Tao really intends to surrender sincerely. Well, if you do things well for me in the future, you will get more rewards, Xiaoruo said calmly. At the same time, Xiaoruo took out a large number of figures from her private space. Aki Yamamio, Ram, Nakano Azusa, Emilia, etc. Xiaoruo took out all kinds of high-quality figures that sold well. Xiaoruo pointed to these figures and said to Li Tao, just follow the standard just now. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 398. Li Tao once made an army of tens of thousands of pottery puppets. Although they were all smashed, there was indeed a lot of waste. Soon, a large number of large two-dimensional figures were produced. Although they were not colored, they could still feel the lifelikeness of the figures. Xiaoruo felt that all the figurines she had collected before could be replaced. Go back and find someone to give it a good look, and when the time comes, it will be placed in the headquarters of Rise, and a handmade exhibition will be held. Of course, not only big figures, Li Tao can also make ordinary small figures, and the quality is also very good. Not only that, Li Tao also has a few subordinates who can help her fire them. In Xiaoruo's view, this Ghost Kill Mountain is completely it can be used as a handmade factory after the Rise. This is a banknote printing factory with zero cost and high return. In this way, what Xiaoruo once thought about is to reduce the price of the figure and make it a commodity that everyone can afford. This is really a good thing for the welfare of otaku. Of course, you can also make money. Figures are priced too high, and the number of people who buy them is limited, and many people buy them at low prices. At that time, figures are like stationery for students and teacups for office dogs. Everyone has a figure. These are all money. Maybe Sioruo didn't care much about money in the past, after all, he didn't spend much money, but the new mission of the system recently allows him to create wonders in the fantasy world in the real world, that's different. Spectacle burns money. Unless you are making a low-quality version and making do with it, if you want to completely replicate the wonders like in the animation, you will burn billions of dollars, or even more. Even with the rising profitability, Sioruo felt the pressure, otherwise he wouldn't have thought of looking for Li Taoxiao figure to make money. Still poor. Li Tao's subordinate is a girl named Yanzu, who is good at making pottery and has also appeared in the original work. She is a kind girl. Like her name, Yanzu has red hair and red eyes like flames, but unfortunately she is wearing an ordinary village girl's attire. If Kikyo is like a fairy who does not eat fireworks in the world, then Yanzu is a beautiful village girl, although she lacks temperament, she is indeed a beautiful girl. Of course, the lack of temperament may be due to the lack of light in the eyes. Yanzu's experience is also a bit miserable. She used to be just an ordinary human being, but was revived by Li Tao as a daughter after her death, and specially made pottery puppets for Li Tao. After Li Tao's death, she also inherited Li Tao's mantle, but Li Tao's death did not free Yanzu. She was forced by another of Li Tao's subordinates to continue to create the killing army. Even more unfortunate. Yanzu hated herself who made killing weapons, wanted to escape from such a life, and even wanted to give up her life in the end, but was saved by Inuyasha and Kikyo in the end. When Sioruo saw Yanzu, she found that the girl's eyes were lifeless and lifeless, exactly the same as in the animation. When she realized this, Sioruo couldn't help but sighed. Oh, my heart is still too soft. Sioruo felt that it was necessary for him to help this child out of the shadows. So he beckoned and called Yanzu over. Sioruo casually picked up a figurine made by Yanzu. The figurines made by Yanzu are no worse than Li Tao's, and compared to Li Tao's old monster, this girl has better aesthetics. The figures also added some ideas of their own. Your craftsmanship is really good, Yanzu, help me burn it according to this photo, just burn a small figure, I hope you make it more delicate. Sioruo took out her mobile phone, selected a screenshot of the animation in the mobile phone, and showed it to Yanzu. The animation character Asada Shino in the screenshot is a picture taken by Sioruo from a fan animation when Sioruo and Shino were dating. The animation of Sword and Sword has not been released yet, and now Sioruo doesn't have Shino's figure for Yanzu to copy, so she can only make it by looking at the screenshots. Yes, my lord. Yanzu respectfully responded to Sioruo, and then started the production work. She formed an obscure seal in her hand, and soon, with the fusion of some pottery scraps, a very beautiful Sinon figure appeared in the hands of Yanzu. Sinon's figures look very delicate and cute, and people can't help liking them. It's just that according to the screenshots, someone who can achieve this level is indeed a talented person, no wonder Li Tao values it. Well, you did a good job. I plan to give this figure to a friend. I believe she will like your work very much. Sioruo nodded in satisfaction. This figurine was given to Shino by Sioruo. Originally, Sioruo wanted Li Tao to make it, but now seeing that Yanzu did a good job, she let her do it. Girls like surprises, even if they really don't care, but when they meet next time, prepare flowers and gifts for them, and give them a small surprise from time to time. This is what a normal boy, scumbag, should do things. Sioruo seemed to have thought in her mind that when Shino saw the gift figure he gave her, she had a surprised expression on her face. Thinking of this, Sioruo couldn't help but raise the corners of her mouth, as if she really wanted to see this scene. Yanzu saw Sioruo smiling, that kind of smile was from the heart. Yanzu noticed that Sioruo was in a good mood at this time, she couldn't help asking, Master, what do you want so many dolls for? Are they all gifts? Sioruo turned to look at the red-haired girl, smiled and said, Decorate, give gifts, sell money. Sell money? Yanzu never thought that the pottery puppet she made would be sold one day. Xiaoruo raised her hand, touched Yanzu's red hair, and said softly, "The figures you made are very good, very beautiful, and I think many people will like them. You don't have to worry about the uses of the figures. These are the things that bring happiness to people." Feeling the warmth of Xiaoruo's palm, Yanzu's eyes became brighter. She had already noticed that the thing the man in front of her asked her to make was not a killing weapon. Maybe it was just a decoration, as he said. Taste. Can it bring happiness to people? Yanzu whispered to herself. Of course, I will definitely not let you work for me for nothing. After the figurines are sold, I will pay you wages and buy you some beautiful clothes. To be honest, your clothes are too rusty. If Yanzu changes, if you wear beautiful clothes, you will definitely be more beautiful, Xiaoruo said after looking at Yanzu's figure. Xiaoruo made a lot of money by selling the figurines that they worked so hard to make, and only bought a few clothes for them. Xiaoruo felt that she was starting to get close to the capitalists. After Yanzu heard Xiaoruo's words, her face flushed slightly. Is it more beautiful? Although she didn't see the future that Xiaoruo described for herself, just hearing it, Yanzu felt hopeful, which was a feeling she didn't have at all when she was firing and killing terracotta warriors. The man in front of him seemed to have opened another door for himself. Thank you, Yanzu said in a low voice. She was sincerely grateful to Xiaoruo. At this time, Yanzu had a little more expectation for her future life. Just when Xiaoruo and Yanzu were discussing about making a model, Dr. Shigemura shouted excitedly from a distance. Mr. Xiaoruo, my daughter has been fired and is about to start the kill. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 399. Note, Dr. Shigemura's daughter is called Yuna when translated into Chinese, the AI is called Yuna, and the real person is called Yuna, which is used to distinguish. Hearing Dr. Shigemura's call, Xiaoruo hurried over. It took about 3 hours to fire, and the calculation time is almost the same. Soon, Xiaoruo, Li Tao, and Dr. Shigemura all stood in front of Gi Yao. Open the kill. Li Tao, who was a little younger, was full of smiles, and walked briskly at the front. Since she was a little younger, she had to look in the mirror every few minutes, and looked at herself in the mirror. Li Tao had been completely crushed. Lord Xiaoruo is convinced, and really wants to follow Lord Xiaoruo for the rest of her life. With a few strokes of the sickle in Li Tao's hand, the boulders at the entrance of the ghost kill turned into pieces one after another, revealing the inside of the ghost kill. Everyone standing at the door felt a wave of heat. Dr. Shigemura looked at the entrance of the ghost kill with a hint of expectation in his eyes. Just looking at the ghost kill, seeing the scene where the ghost kill was burned red and the flames were still burning, he was a little worried. The ghost kill is so hot, it won't fail, right? Naturally, Li Tao didn't care about the doctor's mood. She walked into the ghost kill alone. In the center of the ghost kill, there appeared a red burning pottery figurine wrapped in clay. Of course, this is not a finished product, but just a layer of wrapping on the outside, like a chrysalis that has not yet broken out of its cocoon. Let me see how the finished product burns. Li Tao took off a branch near his ear, and with a light wave, the branch fell to the top of the terracotta figurine. Li Tao's branch was obviously not a mortal thing. A ray of holy light burst out from the branch, and in an instant, the entire ghost kill was filled with this light. Xiaoruo felt something condensed in it, and it seemed that this branch was the last step of resurrection. The light from the branches dissipated, the temperature of the entire ghost kill instantly dropped to normal temperature, and the surrounding flames also disappeared. Click. There was a gap in the terracotta figurine, and soon the gap became wider and wider. Peng. The wrapped terracotta figurines were completely shattered, revealing the perfect body of a young girl lying in it. Because she didn't have any clothes, the girl's entire body was completely exposed. Although the girl had her eyes closed, she could still see her exquisite beauty. It may be because it was fired just now, the girl's body exudes a kind of holy charm, her body is as white as jade fat, Yuna's young, her undeveloped body just quietly lies on the pottery figurine in it, like Sleeping Beauty. The finished product doesn't look bad. Li Dao looked at the doll he had baked, and nodded in satisfaction. Soon, the sleeping girl opened her eyes and looked around in a daze, as if she didn't understand why she appeared in this place, and why she was not wearing any clothes. Yuna. Seeing his daughter again, Dr. Shigemura couldn't keep calm anymore and rushed up directly. But Xiaoruo was one step ahead of him, and appeared in front of Yuna in an instant, and gently draped the blanket she had prepared a long time ago on Yuna's body, completely covering her naked body just now. Who are you? Yuna looked at Xiaoruo suspiciously, shrank her body, and then turned her head to look at her father who was coming towards her. Daddy, Yuna called softly. 3 years later, Dr. Shigemura, who saw his daughter again, couldn't bear it anymore, not just when, he was already in tears. Yuna, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have given you the Sao equipment at that time, it was I who hurt you. When Yuna heard her father's voice, she seemed to have thought of something, and looked down at herself with a dazed expression. Didn't I die? Or is it that Sao's game is over? Dad, did everyone survive? After Xiaoruo put the blanket on Yuna, she quietly stepped aside, not disturbing the father-daughter reunion at this moment. To Xiaoruo's surprise, he originally thought that Li Tao couldn't summon Yuna's soul. After all, it was a different world, and he had to go to the world of swords to find the soul, but the fact is that Xiaoruo thought too much. Xiaoruo speculates that it may be that after traveling back and forth between the two worlds are connected. After all, I have such an experience before. Li Tao was behind Xiaoruo, keeping an eye on Xiaoruo. Seeing his boss standing beside him without saying a word, Li Tao's slightly protruding eyeballs rolled around, and then he quietly moved closer to him. My lord, I have already left behind on that girl's body. I think she looks pretty good. If you take a fancy to that girl and want her to do something, all I need is an order, and she will be obedient at night. To your room. Li Tao didn't continue talking when he said this, but gave Xiaoruo a knowing look. In order to regain his youth, Li Tao felt that he had to be a qualified dogleg. Although Li Tao is a monster, he has also heard that human men like beautiful girls. And Li Tao also felt that Master Xiaoruo should be the kind of person who likes women. There is no evidence, it is just his intuition of being a demon for hundreds of years. It's just that I don't know if the pottery puppet I made like it or not. Li Tao is very confident about the pottery doll he made. It is absolutely the same as the touch of a human girl, and it is also a doll with consciousness and complete obedience. Xiaoruo frowned slightly when she heard Li Tao's words. This. What's going on with this Li Tao? This is who I am, someone Xia. Get rid of all those backhands of yours, and don't do such unnecessary things in the future, Xiaoruo said coldly. Yes. Li Tao quickly lowered her head, as if feeling Xiaoruo's dissatisfaction, her eyes rolled again. Master Xiaoruo doesn't like dead people? That means liking living people, and Li Tao had a new idea in his mind. After the reunion of father and daughter, Dr. Shigemura brought Yuna to Xiaoruo. At this time, Yuna had already changed into a set of clothes, but she had been obediently standing behind Dr. Shigemura, looking at Xiaoruo cautiously. Mr. Xiaoruo, thank you very much. Dr. Shigemura has already confirmed that his daughter is indeed resurrected, and there are no physical defects. Just like what the pottery burning witch said, her pottery making skills are really good. If she didn't see it with her own eyes, Dr. Shigemura would not even. It is believed that the daughter's body is made of clay. Well, just remember our agreement, Xiaoruo said with a smile. Yes, Mr. Xiaoruo, I will give you some equipment and materials of Ogma when I go back, Dr. Shigemura said very simply, Knowing Sioruo's methods, he did not dare to resist. Sioruo nodded slightly, then walked to Yuna's side, and gently stroked Yuna's hair. Even the hair was as smooth as ordinary people. "Do you feel it?" "Yes," Yuna whispered. "I see." Sioruo turned to look at Dr. Shigemura. "Doctor, your daughter is no different from ordinary people now, but the only flaw is that her body is not a physical body, that is to say, the current you that's not considered a human being, but it's not a problem. You can do things for me in the future, and I can solve this hidden danger." "Thank you," Dr. Shigemura quickly thanked, but he also knew that he would work for the young man in front of him in the future. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 400. After that, Sioruo took Dr. Shigemura and Yuna back to the world of swords. Dr. Shigemura has a lot of materials in the Shigemura Laboratory of Kyoto Institute of Technology, and Sioruo followed Dr. Shigemura. Some related materials and equipment, Sioruo will not let go of these things. As long as he has these things, he can replicate a complete sequential controversy in Tianbei City. Yuna, on the other hand, seemed a little afraid of Sioruo, and kept following her father, only occasionally peeking at Sioruo. It seemed that Sioruo was like a monster, maybe because she was afraid of Sioruo's ability to travel through the world. Sioruo was a little puzzled. How could she look like a monster? Of course, Sioruo did not forget Sanan's request. Sioruo looked at Dr. Shigemura. "Doctor, it's useless for you to keep the memories of those involved in the Sao incident. Can you give me those memories?" "Memory? Of course it's okay, those things are no longer needed." Dr. Shigemura tapped twice after hearing Sioruo's words, and summoned Yuna in by with his own authority. All the lost memories are concentrated in on Yuna's body. Bai Yuna was actually by the side just now. She glanced at Sioruo and Yuna not far away with a complicated expression. After Yuna's resurrection, AI Yuna became a fake completely, not even a substitute. However, in the original work, Yuna is not Yuna, but a real independent personality AI. She told Kirito herself that her wish is only to sing, and this wish is definitely not Yuna's wish. "Yuna, extract the memories of the Sao participants," Dr. Shigemura ordered to Yuna. "Yes." AI Yuna stretched out her hand, and a huge ball of light appeared in Yuna's hand. In the light ball, it was the memories of all Sao players. Of course, if these memories were lost, AI Yuna would never be there again. Yuna's memories only remain of her time as an AI. "Give me the memories of Asuna and Klein." Sioruo is not interested in other people's memories. After thinking for a long time, he also thought that Klein and Asuna's memories were taken away. As for the tricks that don't have other names, let Yuna return them by herself. "Yes." The big ball of light in Yuna's hand moved slightly, and then separated two small balls of light from it. Sioruo stretched out her hand and took the light ball that Yuna handed over. Sioruo felt the light ball in her hand and made the memory into the shape of the light ball. This kind of black technology is really amazing. However, this is too dangerous. A person's memory is in his own hands. This kind of thing sounds a little scary. Sioruo can even feel that she can use the power of fantasy to modify this memory at will, make this memory into the shape she wants, and control the owner of the memory. Sioruo didn't dare to think about it anymore, and quickly put away Asuna's memory. Although he really wanted to try to modify Asuna's memory and see what the result would be, Sioruo still couldn't do that kind of thing after all. Sioruo took out her mobile phone and contacted Sanan. She knows girls' school. With the ringing of the school bell and the departure of the teacher, the classroom instantly became noisy. "Sanan, don't you want to go back together?" A short-haired girl sitting next to Sanan turned her head and asked Sanan, and she seemed to have a pretty good relationship with Sanan. "No, I have an appointment with a friend today," Shino replied while packing her things. Hearing Sinan's appointment, the short-haired girl's eyes lit up instantly. Is it a boy? Is it a boy? Sinan hesitated for a moment, but nodded slightly. Wow, is that a boyfriend? Shino, you finally have a boyfriend, but Sinan is so pretty, it's normal to have a boyfriend. The short-haired girl's tone instantly became agitated, as if she had a boyfriend. There is no way, their school is not an ordinary school, but a girls' school full of girls. In this kind of school where the yin and the yang are in decline, it is indeed a big deal for someone to have a boyfriend. No, Sinan blushed slightly, and quickly waved her hands to defend. It's just friends, we haven't known each other for long. Really? The short-haired girl who asked Sinan put her finger to her mouth, with a pensive expression on her face. You also said that the handsome guy who rode a motorcycle was a friend last time. Forget it, I won't tell you anymore, I'll be leaving first. Shino, who packed her schoolbag, ignored the gossip girl next to her, bid farewell to a few friends, picked up her schoolbag and walked out of the classroom, walking towards the school gate. Shino, wearing glasses, is carrying a schoolbag, with two braids falling on both sides, with a slightly soft appearance, completely a standard image of a literary girl. Even in a girls' school, she is very eye-catching. However, when she was about to reach the school gate, Sinan found that a group of people had gathered at the school gate for no reason. Looking at the crowd surrounding the school gate, Sinan suddenly had a bad idea. The last time Kirito came by with his motorcycle, there was a circle of people around like this time it won't be. Sinan quickened her pace, and sure enough, she saw from a distance that Syaruo, who was leaning on the motorcycle, was surrounded by a group of girls, and Syaruo was surrounded by a group of girls, without the slightest troubled expression on her face, instead chatting with those girls very happy. Sinan watched this scene, her cheeks puffed up with anger. Schoolgate. Handsome guy, is this your motorcycle? It's so cool, are you waiting for your girlfriend? Senior, can you give me a ride on your motorcycle? I'm very good. Senior, which school are you from? Can you leave an email address? We can have dinner together next time. When Syaruo rushed over to pick up Shino, she was immediately surrounded by a group of girls from the girls' school. There is no way, Syaruo's attractive appearance and handsome motorcycle are too lethal to the girls in the girls' school. Looking at the girls who came up, Syaruo couldn't help but sigh with emotion. It is indeed a Japanese girls' school. You can really see all kinds of girls here. Every girl has its own unique attributes, and because it is a two-dimensional reason. There are really many beautiful girls in it, and there are not many ordinary-looking girls. Although most of the girls just waited and watched curiously, because it was the rush hour after school, many bold girls came to ask Syaruo for contact information, but Syaruo refused. Soon, Syaruo, who had a keen sense, noticed Sinan in the distance. The moment she saw Shino, Syaruo immediately raised her arms, waved her hand at Shino with a smile on her face, and shouted loudly. Sinan-chan, here. I can break the dimensional wall. Author, Zhou Jumiao. Chapter 401. Sinan, here. Syaruo waved to Sinan. Sinan saw Syaruo greeting her from a distance, and in an instant, she felt a lot of eyes focused on her. Shino puffed up her face angrily, and quickly ran to Syaruo. I said I wanted to meet you, but why did you pick me up so conspicuously? What's the matter? I thought you would be happy, Syaruo replied as if she didn't know anything. You bastard, Sinan could see that Syaruo did it on purpose. Bastard. Seeing the girlfriend that the handsome guy was going to pick up in front of him arrived, the girls who had been surrounding Syaruo also left in disappointment. Only Syaruo and Shino were left behind, but there were still some people watching, and some still watching. Take pictures of motorcycles. Look. With a light wave of Syaruo's hand, it was like magic, and a purple flower appeared in an instant. Syaruo smiled and handed the flowers to Sinan. For you, just now I saw a little girl selling flowers by the side of the road, and I saw no one around, so I bought one. Do you like it? Every time we meet, we must pay attention to giving girls a little surprise. For Syaruo, this is just some basic skills. Sure enough, Sinan saw that Syaruo came here and bought flowers for herself, and the unhappiness just now disappeared in an instant. Although flowers are not very expensive things, girls really like this method. It's so beautiful. Shino took the flowers, slightly surprised. This was the first time she received flowers from a boy. When Kirito came to pick him up last time, he came completely empty-handed, so the comparison is obviously different. As long as you like it? Syaruo looked at Sinan with a smile on the side. Right now at the school gate, Syaruo and Shino are now like a couple, receiving the envious eyes of countless girls around them. Student Asada. Shinan. When Syaruo and Sinan were standing at the school gate, two cute girls who seemed to know Sinan walked over, one with short hair and one with a round face. Both of them were cute girls. They are all Sinan's classmates, and they have a good relationship with Sinan. They usually go home together, but today Sinan said that she had something to do and left quickly, so she didn't expect to date a boy here. Sinan, is he your boyfriend? Sinan's short-haired classmate asked in a low voice. Just now you said it wasn't a date. Student Asada, it's disgusting. You clearly agreed to be single together, but you secretly got out of the single. Another girl clenched her fists. She glanced sideways at Syaruo's motorcycle, and it looked very expensive. Ah, he is actually a rich handsome guy. Sinan was a little embarrassed by what the two of them said, and she wanted to explain, but she felt that no matter how she explained, she couldn't explain it clearly now. She really said that she was not dating her boyfriend at the time, but they would not believe it now. Syaruo saw Sinan's predicament, so Syaruo took the initiative to say to the two girls, "You are Sinan's friends. Hello, my name is Syaruo, and I am Sinan's friend. In fact, we just met each other not long ago, and it's not the kind of relationship you think, and I came to pick her up from school today because of something." Ah. Hello, I'm Heze. Hi, I'm Suzuya. Hearing that Syaruo took the initiative to report their names, the two girls also reported their names, but when they talked to Syaruo, they were very quiet and behaved very ladylike. Of course, it's hard to say whether they believe Syaruo's words or not. Hearing that Syaruo helped her out, Sinan also breathed a sigh of relief. She even glanced at Syaruo in surprise, but she didn't expect that this guy didn't play tricks, which made Shino change her view of Syaruo. Then, Suzuya, Tsuriko, Sinan and I will go first. Syaruo got on her motorcycle and gestured to Sinan. Shino looked at Syaruo's motorcycle with some hesitation on her face. Last time, she decided that she would never make Syaruo's motorcycle again, but in the current situation, staying here is not an option. So Shino gritted her teeth, and got on Syaruo's motorcycle anyway. Goodbye, Sinan, the two girls waved to Sinan. Goodbye, Sinan also waved. Looking at Shino's two friends, Syaruo seemed to have thought of something, took out two boxes from her private space, and pretended to take them out of her bag. Syaruo handed the two boxes to the two girls respectively, and said with a smile on her face, "This is the snack I made myself. Thank you for taking care of Sinan for a long time. These snacks will be given to you. I still have a lot of experience in making snacks." "Thank you." X2. Both girls were a little surprised. After all, it was quite unexpected to get a gift from a handsome guy. "Don't forget to eat, it won't taste good after a long time." After delivering the snacks, Syaruo didn't stay any longer, and accompanied by the roar of the engine, Syaruo disappeared at the school gate with Shino. At this time, looking at the motorcycle going away, the short-haired girl was holding a snack in her hand, with a slightly envious look on her face. That's great. He looks like a cool motorcycle driver, and he feels hard to get close to, but he's actually very gentle and can make desserts. He's exactly like the boyfriend of my dreams. I'm so envious of Sinan. The short-haired girl turned her head, only to find that her companion was already in tears. Why are you crying? Dim sum, the dim sum is so delicious, woohoo. The snack box held by the round-faced girl had already been opened, and she seemed to have eaten one on the spot. Sioruo drove Sinan all the way. The high-speed driving of the motorcycle made Sinan wrap her hands around Sioruo's waist, and her body was pressed against Sioruo. Although she had such an experience last time, Sinan was still a little shy. Of course, compared to this, what made Sinan more shy was when Sioruo held her in her arms. At that time, she felt like she was about to evaporate. About a few minutes later, Sioruo brought Sinan to the restaurant in Ginza again. Once here, Sinan unconsciously thought of the scene of being hugged by Sioruo at that time, which made Sinan's face a little hot. You said that the matter about the amnesia of Sao players has been resolved, is it true? Sinan forced herself to calm down, and asked Sioruo. When Sioruo sent herself a message today, she was talking about this matter, so she accepted the invitation. Of course it's true. Sioruo stretched out her hand and took out the memories of Asuna and Klein. The memories of Asuna and Klein are here, by the way, you have to open Ogma to see them. Sinan nodded, and turned on her Ogma device, and sure enough, she saw two balls of light in Sioruo's hands. Sinan was a little surprised. Sioruo really solved the matter in just one day, as he said. Is this the memory of Asuna and the others? Shino took the ball of light in surprise, and she was surprised to find that the ball of light was marked with so-and-so's memory, just like an item or prop. In this way, the two light spheres can also be included in the inventory. You just need to give this memory to Asuna and the others, and the memory will automatically penetrate into the owner's body. As for other Sao victims, they will also slowly recover their memories, at most a bit slow. This Sao player, the amnesiac incident is over. After Sioruo finished ordering, she said to Sinan, with a calm look, it seemed that it was not a big deal. Great, Sinan patted her chest, as if she was relieved that this matter was resolved smoothly. Shino had no doubts about Sioruo's words. Sinan is not stupid, she probably understands that Sioruo is not an ordinary person, but Sinan is not very clear about Sioruo's true identity. It's an identity that I can't touch at all. What about Dr. Shigemura? Didn't you say that he is trying to revive his daughter? Has he given up? Although the matter has been resolved, Sinan is still more concerned about the process of this matter, and if Dr. Shigemura does not give up, Sinan was afraid that such a thing would happen again. Sinan also learned that recently, Kirito seems to have locked Dr. Shigemura, and even plans to use the power of the Japanese government to solve this matter, but it seems that there has been no news from the government. Dr. Shigemura's daughter has been resurrected. Shino, you don't have to worry about this happening again, Sioruo replied. Resurrection? Shino didn't understand. Sioruo said that the resurrection was the same as what he said last time, using the player's memory to resurrect. Then why was the memory sent back? About the matter of resurrection, you will know later, Sinan. What I want to tell you now is another matter. Sioruo said. Her expression gradually became serious. What's up? Seeing Sioruo's serious expression, Shino's heart suddenly jumped, as if she had a bad premonition. I'm leaving here. Sioruo looked at Sinan's face and said. Hearing this sentence, Sinan instantly understood Sioruo's meaning. Sinan's original normal expression gradually became a little stiff, but her tone was still normal. Really? You are leaving Japan? Yes, you after all, he is a foreigner, so it is impossible to stay here forever. When Sinan heard that Sioruo was leaving, she felt a little uncomfortable for some reason, and her chest felt a little congested. Xiaoruo is going back to China, will I never see him again? What's the matter? I obviously haven't dated him yet, why do I feel so uncomfortable when I hear that he is leaving? Sinan was a little annoyed, and her fingers under the table also grabbed her skirt tightly. Well, it's been a long time since I came here, and my purpose of coming here has been fulfilled, it's time to go back, Xiaoruo said calmly. Shino smiled stiffly at Xiaoruo, so that's it, when are you leaving, do you need me to see you off? How can we say that we have known each other for a while, although you are a bad person, but you have helped me so much, I have nothing to repay you, by the way, if you come to Japan next time, you can call me, I will pick you up then. Sinan spoke quickly, as if deliberately trying to cover up her emotions. However, the next moment, Xiaoruo touched Shino's small head with her hand. What are you doing? Feeling Xiaoruo's big hand touching her head, Shino asked Xiaoruo suspiciously. It's nothing, it just feels like you're about to cry, what's the matter, are you so reluctant to part with me? Xiaoruo asked with a smile. Seeing that Xiaoruo was still smiling, Shino's heart ached, as if she was really about to cry. I won't miss you. Sinan retorted loudly, but the reddish eye circles completely betrayed herself. Xiaoruo looked at Sinan's expression, he had already confirmed that Sinan really fell in love with him. Really? Xiaoruo put her hand on Sinan's shoulder, and skillfully hugged Sinan in her arms, just like last time. At first, Sinan still resisted a little, her body resisted weakly, but after Xiaoruo said I'm leaving soon, Sinan's body softened, and she quietly leaned against Xiaoruo's body, her head also buried in Xiaoruo's arms. Well. Xiaoruo felt the body temperature of Sinan in his arms, he felt that a girl like Sinan was too kind, or too easy to deceive. Xiaoruo couldn't help but gently kiss Sinan's forehead. Omitted below. Nothing serious actually happened. At night, Xiaoruo sent Sinan back home, but Sinan's face was still a little red. Ahem, Shino, I'll introduce you to a new game. At the door of Shino's house, Xiaoruo took out a contract, saying it was a contract, but it was actually a piece of paper. Xiaoruo had used the power of fantasy to change the contract methods of the Hall of Valor in various ways. That's right, what Xiaoruo introduced to Sinan was her own Hall of Valor. Sinan's game character definitely has the ability to become a heroic spirit. It won't be long before the server of this game will open. As long as you sign this, you will have the qualification of the game. Players who play this game will get a lot of benefits in this game, Xiaoruo said seriously. Of course, the benefits Xiaoruo mentioned are not deceiving. Life, strength, and resurrection can all be used as rewards. Xiaoruo does not believe that someone will refuse such a reward. New game? Sinan took over the contract, and it was the first time she heard that it was a game that had to be signed in reality before it could be played. Shino glanced at it. There were not many conditions written in the agreement. It seemed that after signing the agreement, he would become a heroic character in the game. As for the content of the game, it seemed to be a game where the master summoned the heroic spirits to fight, and the players who participated in the game it is the heroic spirit who was summoned. Sinan was a little puzzled, how the content of this game was like a card draw game, and she was still the one drawn. However, judging from the above introduction, we can't see any specific content. As for the lifespan, strength, and resurrection mentioned in the reward, Sinan thought it was a bit exaggerated, but she didn't say anything. It's just a game. After thinking about it, Shino decided to agree to Xiaoruo. So Sinan took out a pen from her school bag, and signed her name on the agreement. Hiss. The moment the signature was signed, the agreement ignited violently, the flames burned extremely fast, and the contract was quickly burned out, leaving no ashes behind, and Shino also had a feeling somewhere that it was the contract founded. Only then did Sinan realize what happened just now, and couldn't help but widen her eyes. Seeing that Sinan had signed the contract, Syaruo smiled, and then took out a stack of contracts, about a dozen of them. These are the qualifications for the internal testing of the game. You can invite experts who are good at playing the game to join, or your friends, Kirito, Asuna and others. You have to believe me, this game is a game that can change your destiny.